What's going on? It is Coach AJ Lou, and today I want to tell you how I closed my first high ticket sale. Man, when I was first graduated college, I had no idea what I wanted to do, so I applied for a bunch of jobs and took the first one that hired me. So it was a cell phone store. And I remember when I was at the cell phone store, the place that I worked at, we were like the first carrier in the US to go from selling discounted phones, like $200 phones or $100 phones, to selling phones full price where people had to pay for a monthly. And I remember when that transition first happened, I was always like, oh my gosh, how am I going to sell someone a $700 phone, right? I was like, tripping out. And so I was always uncomfortable, like feeling uncomfortable selling people expensive things, right? It was just like a natural internal like belief that I had, right? And so I worked at that cell phone store for 5 years and eventually got recruited into outside sales. And when I got to outside sales, it was easier, right? I could sell like high ticket things because I wasn't selling to a person, right? I wasn't worried about like, oh, can this person afford this? It was more like, this is a business. They need this, $7,000 a month thing. Let me sell it to them, right? So when I got to B2B, it was easy. But when I was in B2B, I always felt like I was selling out. I always felt like I was just selling just for the money and I didn't really care about the product or the service I was providing. So I remember I went to a Tony Robbins event, and at the event, I went through this like crazy mental transformation where if you've never been, it's called the Dickens method. And I would advise everybody to go to at least one Tony Robbins event. And at the end, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta go on a different path. So came back from the Tony Robbins event and I quit my job. The same month that I hit the largest commission check I had ever received, I was like 360% to plan. I quit my job. And I quit my job because I wanted to do something that I cared about and I was passionate about. And when I quit, I decided to join my buddy's startup company. He was selling personal training, helping people achieve their fitness goals. And they had some good results. They had helped one lady lose like 160 pounds. And so I felt like with my football background, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is going to be, what I'm going to do. And so I started working with him, and I had forgot that I had that like internal like complication with selling people expensive stuff, right? And so I remember the first lady that I met with and sold into a personal training package, it was like $400. And then the next one was like $600, right? And those were all prices that I had sold to like an individual before. But then one time I met with this lady at the gym, and it was her and her daughter, and they both wanted personal training, and they wanted to train 3 days a week, and they wanted to train for an hour each time. And when I did the math, so basically our process was we would run ads on Facebook. Someone would comment on our ad. We would send them a message, schedule a phone call. When we did the phone call, we would set up a time to meet them at the gym. Then when we would go to the gym, we would take them through a workout, go through their goals, go through everything, and then present the proposal at the end, right? And so I take the lady and her daughter through the workout. I kick their butts. We go back, we sit down, and we start going through all the different amounts of times they want to spend at the gym. How many times do they want to work with a personal trainer? Going through all this stuff. And when I calculate it, it's like $3,800, right? It's like $3,800, somewhere in that range. And I remember I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, I don't know if I want to pitch this to her because it's so much money, right? And I was sitting there, I was like nervous. I felt like this tingly feeling in my stomach, and I'm like, damn. And I'm like, well, in order for you to work out with the trainer 3 days a week, for an hour each time, and we're going to sign you up for the next 3 months, it's going to be $3,800. And I remember I said that, and I felt like my heart sank. I was like so nervous and scared. Even though I'd sold like $100,000 contracts to businesses, this was the first time selling like a high ticket thing to a person, to an actual just person working a job, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm nervous. I don't know what she's going to say. And she's like, okay, cool. Here's my credit card. And she hands me the credit card, and I was so nervous, like my heart was beating so fast that I took the credit card. And how it would work is we would write the credit card information on these forms, and then we would input it later into our online payment system, right? So I'm writing down the information, and after I write it down, I shake her hand. I say, cool, this is the next steps. She leaves, her daughter leaves. I'm super excited. I go online to the payment processing thing. I put in the information, and it says declined. And I'm like, oh, shoot. And so what happened was I'd written down the wrong credit card number, the wrong credit card information. And so I call the guy that recruited me to that company, and he was the owner, one of my buddies. And I'm like, yo, man, I just closed a $3,800 deal. That's the good news. The bad news is I wrote down the wrong credit card information, and I don't want to call this lady back and make it seem like I'm a rookie, right? I just asked her for so much money. I don't want to call her back. And then he told me something that was like super profound that I've kind of lived by since that day. And he said, look, man, it's not your job to be managing your customers' wallets. He's like, it's your job to sell. It's their job to manage their wallets. And I was like, you're right. You're right. Just because I personally might not pay for something doesn't mean that someone else wouldn't, right? Everybody has different levels of perceived value based on what their background is, based on what their knowledge is, right? Because I played college football, I would never pay that much for a personal trainer. But someone that has no idea about fitness, that's like a steal, right? That's a value. As long as they see the value in it and they can afford it, then it's worth it to them. And so I called the lady back. I told her, hey, I tried to run your card. Looks like I wrote down the wrong number. She was like, okay, cool, no problem. Gave me the numbers over the phone, typed it in while I was on the phone with her. Boom, cha-ching, payment went through. We were good to go. And so that's how I kind of closed my first high ticket sale. You know, maybe it's not high ticket to everyone. Some people close 20,000, 50,000, right? But basically I had to overcome that fear of like, it's not my job to decide how my customers should spend their money. It's my job to present an amazing offer. And if they see the value in the offer, they'll take action, right? If not, it's, you know, you go into the whole overcoming objections and all that kind of stuff. But just want to share that story with you and kind of share the same value that I got. And that is, if you're selling high ticket services or high ticket products, and you have that uncomfortable feeling about selling something that might be expensive in your mind or something that you might not pay for personally, I want to remind you that it's not your job to manage your customers' wallets, right? It's your job to present an amazing offer, and then if they see enough value in it, they'll take action. And so with that, I hope you enjoyed this one. I will talk to you on the next one. Oh, by the way, you can go to inspiredefforts.com/SSS, and I have my free program. It's called Story Selling Secrets. It is a 6-module course on how to use stories to sell anything to anyone. So check it out, inspiredefforts.com/SSS, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.